Lifting the veil. Number 4. The whole world is in the grip of a corona pandemic. According to what we understand, the corona is a new life created by our sun and it's used to discipline us. You may not realize this, but our star god is acting in accordance to a prophecy spoken thousands of years ago. That prophecy is the one spoken to Dr. Asclepios by Hermes. The prophecy is involved with what would happen to Egypt, but goes further and ends up with what would happen to our world. So let's look at it, because I have no doubt it applies to our world today. Let's pick it up at a specific point, and that point starts here. Hermes told Asclepios, "O Egypt, Egypt, of your religion nothing will remain but an empty tale, which your own children in time to come will not believe. Nothing will be left but graven words, and only the stones will tell of your piety. And in that day men will be weary of life, and they will cease to think the universe worthy of reverent wonder and of worship. And so religion, the greatest of all blessings, for there is nothing, nor has been, nor ever shall be, that can be deemed a greater boon, will be threatened with destruction. Men will think it a burden, and will come to scorn it." At this point, let me draw your mind to the religion he spoke of. The religion he and Asclepios was involved with was called the religion of the mind. That mind is the mind of God and is represented by the Egyptian Ankh. If you notice, I put the picture of Thoth kneeling on an eye holding a star in his hand and the Ankh on his wrist. The religion of the mind is not a church affair, it's a private religion between you and that star Thoth has in his hand. That star represents your real creator and no one else can claim that image. Let's get back to our prophecy. When was it given? Well, for sure it was in the lifetime of Asclepios. He lived about 800 BCE. My Bible says this: Asclepios was a physician who lived around the 8th century BC. Asclepios, the god of healing, was worshipped by ancient Greeks when they were ill or wanted to have a loved one raised from the dead. He was said to have learned his herbal remedies from Chiron, the centaur. My Bible says this about Chiron. Some sources speculate that Chiron was originally a Thessalian god, later subsumed into the Greek pantheon as a centaur. A great healer, astrologer, and respected oracle, Chiron was said to be the first among centaurs and highly revered as a teacher and tutor. I think this info especially tells us that this could be Hermes or his grandfather Enki. But if I have to make a choice, I will choose Hermes because that info says Chiron taught Asclepios. Getting back to our prophecy, Hermes says, "They will no longer love this world around us, this incomparable work of God, this glorious structure which he has built, this sum of good made up of things of many diverse forms, this instrument whereby the will of God operates in that which he has made, ungrudgingly favoring man's welfare, this combination and accumulation of all the manifold things that can call forth the veneration, praise, and love of the beholder. Darkness will be preferred to light, and death will be thought more profitable than life. No one will raise his eyes to heaven, the reverent will be deemed insane, and the irreverent wise, the madman will be thought a brave man, and the wicked will be esteemed as good. As to the soul, and the belief that it is immortal by nature, or may hope to attain to immortality, as I have taught you, all this they will mock at, and will even persuade themselves that it is false. No word of reverence or piety, no utterance worthy of heaven and of the gods of heaven, will be heard or believed. And so the gods will depart from mankind, a grievous thing, and only evil angels will remain, who will mingle with men, and drive the poor wretches by main force into all manner of reckless crime, into wars, and robberies, and frauds, and all things hostile to the nature of the soul. A lot was said above, but he described to us the attitude of people worldwide. It's hard to convince someone they have an immortal soul. He says, as to the soul, and the belief that it is immortal by nature, or may hope to attain to immortality, as I have taught you, all this they will mock at. Did you notice those fools laugh at people that think we have an immortal soul and have the hope of immortality? But turn your attention to those wicked angels that mislead peoples into all kinds of evil things. He said the gods left the earth and only wicked angels were left behind. Who were those gods? They were the Anunnaki that built the world and kept it going. Well, the Torah told us they were the sons of the Elohim that came down and took earth women as wives. They were the Atlanteans and were very educated in our heavens and our galaxy. They knew things we as people of the earth still don't know. It was them that built all the rock walls we see on earth that was cut by some type of machine. Go take a look at Baalbek, Lebanon, and you tell me how they cut those building blocks or how did they move them. There are many things we could talk about that's found in the prophecy, but let's get back to the part that covers our earth. Hermes says, then will the earth no longer stand unshaken, and the sea will bear no ships, heaven will not support the stars in their orbits, nor will the stars pursue their constant course in heaven, all voices of the gods will of necessity be silenced and dumb, the fruits of the earth will rot, the soil will turn barren, and the very air will sicken in sullen stagnation. After this manner will the old age come upon the world. Religion will be no more, all things will be disordered and awry, all good will disappear. The world is old, and what we see with this pandemic will usher in a new world, and that is what our prophecy is trying to tell us. This is where we are heading, people of the earth, be aware. The world we see today was built by the Atlanteans, the new world will be built by God. Hermes says, but when all this has befallen, Asclepius, then the Master and Father, God, the first before all, the maker of that God who first came into being, will look on that which has come to pass, and will stay the disorder by the counter-working of his will, which is the good. So by this there was to come a time when God himself would step into world affairs. Notice what he does, but remember this, God will always love you. He will call back to the right path those who have gone astray, he will cleanse the world from evil, now washing it away with water floods, now burning it out with fiercest fire, or again expelling it by war and pestilence. And thus he will bring back his world to its former aspect, so that the cosmos will once more be deemed worthy of worship and wondering reverence, and God, the maker and restorer of the mighty fabric, will be adored by the men of that day with unceasing hymns of praise and blessing. Wow, he does many things, but did you notice the word pestilence? Yes, he uses fatal epidemic disease. My Bible says pestilence means a fatal epidemic disease, especially bubonic plague. It also states neither prayers nor demonstrations halted the advance of the pestilence. So your prayers are useless, especially since your God don't exist. But don't worry, something new is coming, and it's our God that is behind everything. Hermes says, such is the new birth of the cosmos, it is a making again of all things good, a holy and awe-striking restoration of all nature, and it is crafted in the process of time by the eternal will of God. For God's will has no beginning, it is forever the same, and as it now is, even so it has ever been, without beginning. For it is the very being of God to purpose good. So if prayers don't help, what must we do to show God we got the point? Hermes mentioned this, and thus he will bring back his world to its former aspect, so that the cosmos will once more be deemed worthy of worship and wondering reverence, and God, the maker and restorer of the mighty fabric, will be adored by the men of that day with unceasing hymns of praise and blessing. Worthy of worship and wondering reverence will be given by those who get the point. Will be adored by the men of that day with unceasing hymns of praise and blessing. So if you want to be part of this very reverent worship, find the men of that day. Don't go looking for a Jesus church, it's not found there. Our God and Father, the God that creates with fire, don't have a religion on this planet, he doesn't need one. So let me ask, to be part of that worthy of worship and wondering reverence, you have to do several things. Do you remember them? What is the most important thing you first have to do? Yes, that's right. You have to lift that veil of darkness off of your eyes so you can fully understand the will of God. We end our discussion here. If you need more help, just let me know.